G'day guys. The Sunshine Coast has more infrastructure projects per capita and more money being spent here than any other marketplace in Australia. In today's video, we're going to talk about over $10 billion worth of projects that are in the works right now for the Sunshine Coast over the next 15 years. This marketplace looks insane. There is that many jobs being created. There is a chronic undersupply of properties up here. There are no properties for rent up here, and there's a population going from 250,000 people to 500,000 people over the next 20 years. So let's get super specific with these, Simon. Let's talk about the Bruce Highway upgrade, which is the major road that runs between the Sunny Coast and Brisbane.
So this is a huge upgrade that's occurring right now. They've already broken soil and starting to extend the highways, and there's always been a bit of a congestion issue coming into the Sunshine Coast, especially on the weekends and after work, because a lot of workers actually commute down to Brisbane but choose to work up here on the beautiful Sunshine Coast. So what they're doing is they're extending it from 2 lanes into 4 lanes and just making more better, efficient off-road ramps to actually get in and out of the Sunshine Coast, which is an amazing one. The second one that we wanted to talk about, which is going to be just epic for the Sunshine Coast, is the light rail.
Yeah, so this light rail system is proposed to open up between the new university sorry, there's a little dog in the background here. So the light rail proposal is basically going to go from Coolum, which is the very south side of the coast, all the way across those beaches to Maroochydore, which is the new CBD we'll talk about in a moment. And as you've seen in the Gold Coast, where the light rail system has been put in, now I think it's, at the moment, I think it's what, Burleigh through to Southport or something like that.
Yeah.
Or that's the proposal. Apparently it's going to go all the way from Coolangatta through to Southport. That has just had a huge impact on property prices, particularly the suburbs where the stations are going to be. So the Sunshine Coast transport is shithouse right now. There's nothing except buses really and cars. So the fact that there's going to be light rail connecting the beaches, the university and the major CBD points across the coast is going to be absolutely huge. I'm so excited that the council's finally decided to invest in that, because it is a much needed breath of fresh air, especially as we move to 500,000 people.
For sure. And the other upgrade that's occurring right now at the moment is an airport upgrade. So what they're actually doing is adding another runway, and I've talked to a few pilots and flight attendants, and they say that the Sunshine Coast is the worst airport to fly into because of the way that the runway's facing.
You'd never not get turbulence, eh?
Nah.
And the runway's too short too, so they always hammer on the brakes.
Yeah, so they're going to be putting in a new runway and actually opening up an international terminal. So that's going to open up access to New Zealand, Fiji, Japan, China, Bali, and all of these amazing places all around the world. Is going to give lots of people, lots of Asians, access to the Sunshine Coast without having to go through Brisbane first.
And we've seen the positive effect that that's had on the Gold Coast market for such a long period of time now, but the Sunshine Coast has already been getting its fair share of tourists. I think just as many tourists come to the Sunshine Coast as almost any other place in Australia per year already. But you know, you add another airport or another runway, you add another runway, and it effectively means you can double, triple, quadruple the number of planes that come in each day, which is fantastic for the local economy, as those people come in with cash and spend it in the local businesses. So one of the things from a business perspective which is massive for the coast, because for so many years between Noosa, Caloundra, Maroochydore, there's been this kind of battle for, you know, where the CBD is going to be, and from a business perspective, and there's been this tug of war with little bits and little industrial parks set up all over the coast. But Maroochydore and the council have finally done a strategic plan where they're basically creating a city like the size of Southport down there at the moment. Ground has been broken for that. There's going to be high density residential down there. There's going to be heaps of commercial, retails, bars, shopping centres. It looks amazing, and it is going to be huge for the coast. We're talking billions of dollars worth of project just there on itself.
It's going to be so exciting, and I actually read an article a little while ago now about some of the projections up here, and they're saying that what they want to attract is a lot of startup businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs, and really convert the Sunshine Coast from that old sleepy town that it was into a nice, fresh, young entrepreneurial hub for Australia.
Yeah, and I love that, and you can see the positive effect that that's had on the Gold Coast, where you've got entrepreneurs, you've got people moving up from Sydney and Melbourne, where, you know, the average age is sort of 31 years of age or something on the Goldie. It's fresh, it's vibrant, lots of cool places for people to do business, and it's great to see that they're expanding that on the coast, which I think is significantly better just because of the quality of life, and it is so beautiful up here. So let's talk development now. There's a couple of major projects. Let's sort of walk people through those.
Great. So there's one that's just opened up south of Caloundra called Aura, and this is going to be pretty much a new city. There's 25,000 homes that are going to be opening up in this area at the moment. One of our colleagues actually bought a property.
Not at the moment, over the next 25 years.
Sorry, yeah, should have confirmed that. One of our colleagues actually just purchased there, and I went driving through there, and it's amazing. They've already got all these beautiful parks. They've got a couple of nice schools and preschools in there, and you can just see the potential out there, which is super exciting.
It's really, really exciting. Like Adzi, who's just started with us, he's one of our client managers here at Pumped On Property, has just built his first property out there with his wife. There's a big industrial park going out, there's a big commercial park going out, there's a Westfield shopping centre going out there. Like, it's the real deal. It's really, really exciting, and it's very well connected from a livability perspective to Brisbane as well, so that those people can go and get their jobs. On another part of the coast, just inland from Maroochydore CBD, is Bly, which also has a huge project, a couple of $1 billion worth of homes getting created out there over the next 15 years, around about the same size, 25,000 odd homes. So if you're a tradie, obviously there's 25 years worth of work up here at the moment, which is fantastic because a lot of those guys do get paid very well. You add the injection of tourists plus the injection of Sydney, Melbourne people that are moving up here, as well as the locals, and the fact that a lot of us want to stay here too. It's just, you know, a really nice thing going on there. Let's talk about the university out at Sippy Downs as well, Chancellor Park.
Yeah, so they've it's been a pretty new university. It's where you went to school, yeah?
Yeah, I did my uni there, which is fantastic.
So when Ben started, 10 years ago now, it was a very small university, but it's absolutely huge now. They've just broken soil down in Brisbane to expand that university down there and have a second campus, but they've also got the one up here, which has thousands and thousands of students learning there at the moment.
I think that it's something like 12 or 13,000 students a year, with the intention to take it to 20,000 students per year. At least 25% of that will be international fee-paying students, which again is really, really good for the coast in terms of that added injection of cash. From a hospital perspective, we're actually filming this video today at Batinia. Our office is just behind us here, but literally a 200-metre walk down the road is the $1 billion university project, which is also a teaching hospital for the University of the Sunshine Coast that attracts the best and brightest from all over Asia and India each year. It is literally like the biggest and best teaching hospital in the Southern Hemisphere now, and is attracting all sorts of different talent into the region. So that has been completed. I think the first 1,000 or 1,200 doctors and nurses have just been employed, with the intention to expand it exponentially over the next 3 years. And as you can see, you know, they've basically created a suburb out of nothing here as well, which is cool.
Yeah, and so there's some of the amazing infrastructure projects occurring up here at the moment, or have already started occurring, and it's going to be such a fun place to be around and watch it expand over the next 25 years and be a part of it. I really can't wait, and I know John McGrath actually released a video the other day on Facebook talking about the value that he sees up here at the moment, which was huge for the Sunshine Coast as well.
Yeah, I think Simon and I were reading something by the Macquarie Bank the other day which suggested that over the next 2.5 years, 140,000 people from Sydney and Melbourne will sell their homes and, you know, reinvest that money somewhere between the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast, a lot of it going into Brisbane. That sort of stuff excites us. So those type of articles from guys like Macquarie Bank, they've got a lot more to lose when they're putting something like that out into the media, and that sort of stuff gets us really excited in terms of the population growth, the job growth, and these crazy infrastructure projects that are around on the Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast and Brisbane right now. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is the amount of development occurring on the coast, because the Sunshine Coast has basically the lowest rental vacancy rate of anywhere in Australia. It is chronically undersupplied from a property perspective right now, especially with the population growth that's occurring. And the last time we saw population growth levels this good in Brisbane was sort of, or southeast Queensland, was kind of 12 odd years ago, and that was the last time any of these markets got really meaningful growth, because, you know, they do take a little while longer after a GFC to recover than a Sydney and a Melbourne, so they really haven't felt that price growth that some of the other markets have. But you know, there's stuff going on at Peregian Springs, which is on the north side of the coast. There's stuff going on in Coolum, which is the north side as well. One of the major Japanese builders, Sekisui, has just picked up a huge tract of land which they're going to build some great stuff on. There's Stockland's Bocarina Beach and Stockland's Batinia stuff, as well as stuff out around the university at Sippy Downs and Chancellor Park, and that's not even including the massive Stockland's project at South Caloundra that we talked about, or the major projects going out at Bly at the moment. So there's just so much going on in a positive way from a jobs perspective up here right now. I think there's, like I said at the start of the video, more infrastructure going in here and more jobs being created here than anywhere else in Australia right now. I think it still represents amazing value. There's a price difference on the beaches on the Sunshine Coast to the Gold Coast of about $500,000, $600,000 to buy the same product right now, and literally 4 years ago the difference was about $100K. So the Gold Coast has started to heat up a lot quicker than the Sunshine Coast has, and I think it represents some amazing long-term buying. The cool thing about the Sunshine Coast is too, if you buy a house with a block that's over 600 square meters, you can chuck your granny flat in the backyard and get your $300 to $350 a week worth of rent from that one as well. So there is that dual income potential for people looking for that growth plus cash flow. But yeah, anything else you wanted to add?
No, just as I said, just really excited to be a part of this and get the opportunity to watch a massive part of Australia expand and see all these infrastructure projects and housing projects actually uncover and see what the potential is over the longer term.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about it as well, guys. So thank you so much for your time and attention. If you'd like to know more about what's going up on the Sunshine Coast here, Simon and I run Pumped On Property. Please jump over to our website www.pumpedonproperty.com and book yourself in a free strategy session with either myself or Simon, where we'll talk about exactly where you are right now, where you'd like to be in the future. We'll talk about some of these projects in a fair bit more detail, and you know, if it's something that you'd like to do up here, we can talk about how we can help you enter this market without taking on too much risk, and you know, taking advantage of us who between the two of us have bought over $300 million worth of property now in Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast in the last 4 years. So we've got incredible experience up here helping investors. We'd love to learn more about you, and if you're planning to buy up here, we'd love to have a conversation. So thank you so much for your time and attention, and have a great day.